A very good afternoon, friends, investors, customers, and Kenyans, and many other people out there. I would like to thank you for first tuning in and watching these videos that we produce, this live session. We want to welcome you. My name is Reuben Kimani. I'm the CEO of Username Investment Limited, leading property company in Kenya. There are many sessions we have had out before, and this is one of the hottest. I've been trying to do some research to answer a pertinent question in our Kenyan society today. How can you move from renting to owning or to occupying your own house? Quite a difficult nut to crack in my own estimation, and I would like to share my thoughts today on how you can be able to do it. I hope you'll be able to benefit from this, and I would like to start with a story. We have been in this business for 7 going to 8 years now. Of course, we have seen transformational stories from our customers. Very good examples of how you can be able to get to your own home. Of course, our business and our main purpose in this organization is to ensure Kenyans has a place they can call home. Basically a place where they can settle down. It gives me a lot of fulfillment when I see people building in plots that we have sold to them in these projects, affordable projects that we have been able to do to them. So the big question today, how can you move from renting to owning your own home in just 3 years? I wanted to work with 3 years to tell you it is possible, and maybe to compress, because one of the biggest aspirations for any person who is working in this Nairobi or in this country, or for any human being, is to get a home where you can have a place, a comfortable place for your family, a good place where you can go back to and rest. That is one of the biggest aspirations. It's also one of the biggest goals for most people, and I would like to show you exactly how, in my own view, you can be able to do this in a short 3 years. I hope you'll be able to walk with me in this journey from step to step. I would like to warn you that some of the ideas I'm sharing here are things that will force you to be able to move out, out of your comfort zone. Things that will force you to think differently. Things that will force you to now start working more intentionally. One of the few principles I would like to share as I start. Number one, you need to be very intentional and deliberate about owning a home. If you are not intentional and deliberate, that's where you find people renting for 10 years, 15 years, or 20 years, unless that's the choice that you have been able to make. The other thing you must be able to do is you must be very flexible. You must be willing to adjust to the realities of this country. You may be, every one of us would like to live in Runda, Karen, and many other big estates, Kilelesho, Westland, and many other big estates. But the question is, can you be able at the moment to move there with the income that you have? The answer to this question is most likely no to most of us. So you need to be very flexible and very deliberate, and you'll be forced to consider the options that fit your income level. If you are on a lower level, you need to go for an affordable option. Basically, you need to do those adjustments. I would like to start by saying there are only two major ways on how you can be able to own a property in the country, or how you can be able to own a home in Kenya. Number one is mortgage, and number two is construction. You can do mortgage, or you can build your own home. In the future, you'll be able to cover the pros and cons of taking a mortgage or doing your own home. But for today, I would like to show you that how the two different ways fit in my plan for 3 years. So after I explain how you can be able to do it, I'll also try to show you step by step, maybe year one, things that you can be able to do, and this is from experience. In year two, things that you can be able to do, and maybe in year three, until you move in and maybe invite us for a housewarming. So there are two ways. I would like to start with mortgage, and these are very interesting that some of you can be able to use. I also appreciate the fact that we come from different backgrounds. Some of us are employed and some of us are businesses out there. And some of us also don't have jobs, especially during this corona period. So we come from different backgrounds, and today I'll be covering for those who have jobs and those who are running businesses, whether it is a small business, a startup, an SME, or if you are lucky to have a corporate. So I'll be covering those two groups of people. Basically, you have an income to start with. And for how many years? Number one, you have aspiration. Number two, there are those people who have been saving. You are basically looking forward to owning a home, just like any other person. So I would like to start with mortgage. How can you be able in 3 years to be able to own a home using a mortgage? And these are very good formula. I would like to surprise you. There are those who work in environments where they can access facilities for very low interest rates. We are talking about 6%, and some bank for a whooping 3%. That is very low. It's like somebody is giving you money for free, especially in a country like ours. So you can be able to take advantage of that. I wanted to give a story so that I can do my own illustration. In 2017, there's a project we did in Gong called Gong Blossom. One of the projects where we have a big number of customers who have built there. I think we have like 10 to 20 customers in a relatively small projects who have built there. Those are short 3 years. We used to sell those properties for 349,000 shillings. And that's why I talk about adjusting your realities to the level you are in at the moment. In a short 3 years, we have more than 10 houses built. And I suspect the last time I checked, we have like 5 families that are living there. 349,000 for a plot. But now these are mansions and bungalows and also mansionettes that where our customers are living with their family. How did they pull up this stunt? Of course, I have sat down with some of them, and you can hear inspirational stories. And I would like to commend our customers at this moment. They work extremely hard. They save and do all manner of things. They take loans, and now they have homes and they enable our business. Also in Nakuru, in a short 2 years, we have a project with more than 30 houses in a short 2 years. If you are to sit down with those customers, some of them have worked extremely hard. They don't have special conditions. These are not entrepreneurs or people who just receive so much money. They are just like you and me. Somebody who worked step by step until they were able to do that bungalow. And if I look at those stories, quite inspirational for me. Those are people who have really worked outside the box. They have worked hard consistently, and they have done some, they are called secrets, but for me they are not secret. They are things they have done to be able to reach there. Not to go around like that, I would like to go back to the mortgage options, and I think this is the easiest. Of course, there is discussion about those who think mortgage is a burden. I understand that. But there's a way you have to be smart. There's a way you can work through a mortgage so that it doesn't become a burden to you. And that's the way I'm sharing today. Number one, we have 3 years to own a home. You are covering the mortgage part. Number two, what budget you'll be able to work with. For this discussion, I would like to work with a budget of like 5 million, looking for a 2-bedroom house in the outskirts of Nairobi, our estates. We are talking about Gong, Kagudo Road, Thika Road, Mombasa Road, Gong, Wayakiwe. You'll easily find apartments going for 5 million shillings. And if you are lucky, a bungalow, and you need to search. Just like dating, you need to search for so many houses before you get the one you want to. And I will give you my personal example. For me, I believe I have to see at least 20 houses before I settle on one, in case I'm purchasing. Because the moment you move from the first one, sometimes you think that's the best house you have ever seen in this world. But when you move to the second house, you realize I would have made a mistake. Imagine seeing like 20. You need to invest even like 3 to 6 months to be able to make that decision. If you go out there, you'll find people who are giving discount, developers, and you'll find a house that is in a very prime location, some place you can live in the morning and go back in the evening. So basically, one of the things that you have to invest in is to search. As I go back to my mortgage discussion. Also, I talked about a budget of 5 million. If you look at most developers, they'll ask for 10% deposit, at least 10%. There are those who are asking for 20%, 10 to 20%. If you are working with a house worth 5 million, either a bungalow or an apartment, you need $500,000 as deposit. Basically, the bank will give you 4.5 million. And remember, we started from a point of saying there are those who are exposed. If you are exposed to low interest rates for mortgage, you are at an advantaged position, and you'll not be wise if you delay that decision, because basically somebody giving you money. And remember, when you are paying mortgages, the monthly repayments are got from check off your salary. Also remember, the house you are buying can give you rent. I'll give you a perfect example here of a mortgage situation. If you go to one of the areas, and I'll narrow down to Pangani, for example, for this discussion, I know there are Thika Road, Mombasa Road, other places you can get better deals. I know of a place where a 2-bedroom apartment goes for 5 million shillings. Go hard in hard with me. The apartment goes for 5 million shillings. That is the value. 10% deposit would be $500,000. The principal, the amount that the bank needs to give you, is 4.5 million. Most of the bank will give you 20 to 25 years as tenor. Those are 300 months. If you look at the monthly repayments, I know you can get a mortgage calculator online or in your phone. You'll be paying a monthly repayment for 28,900 per month. But if I look at rent in that area for a 2-bedroom is 35,000. What does this tell you? Basically, the rent is higher than the monthly repayment. So basically, the only thing you need here is the deposit. And as I said, for all these years you have been saving, you have had investment in plot, share, some of you insurance, some of you are members of the circle and you're wondering how you can use the circle to your advantage. Some of you can get unsecured loans. You can get a promotion and work harder. Some of you have bonuses. Some of you have per diems that you can be able to access. Some of you have overtime. Some of you can dispose unnecessary items in the house. I'm talking about if you have 2 cars and you are a couple. For the sake of home ownership, you can be able to dispose 1 car. Basically, there are tips that you can be able to use to be able to raise this money. So for this time, you have been doing that and you want to own this home. So basically, this 10% deposit for mortgage is something that you can use. You are out of box and many other ways where you can be able to get money. And let me tell you, money is like a river. If you don't put it aside, it just goes to the ocean. It just drains like a river. Keep going, keep going, keep going until one day there is drought and the river dries up and you don't have anything in the pocket. So at this juncture, you should be able to make a decision. So the first thing, you have raised $500,000. The second thing is application. I also know there are legal fees. When you buy houses, there are legal fees, stamp duty, and other fees. They are usually heavy. So you need to factor that. For 5 million house, the legal fees might be anything between 100 to $500,000 shillings, depending on the lawyer. So you need to save for the deposit. Maybe say 200,000, you need 700,000 to start this home ownership journey. So this means that with this like 35,000 rent, you can get, and the repayments is 28,000. I hope you are working with me. You can get an extra of 7,000 from that house, assuming you are renting it out. But today we are talking about owning a home. So you can live in a home where the rent is higher than the repayments. That is being smart. And you need to go around this town for you to get such deals. Let me tell you about something interesting about if you settle down for the right property. You have searched for 3 to 6 months and you have gotten at least 20 houses for comparison purposes in the same budget range. One of the things that happens to property, and that's why username is very popular, is something called capital gain. Do you know you can buy a house worth 5 million today? I've seen somebody do that in the past. In the short 3 years, the house can be worth from 6 million and above, and maybe 7 million. I have seen somebody who bought a house for 4 million shillings. Imagine they were receiving rent every month. At the end of 3 years, they sold the house for 7 million. Imagine they only needed 10% to be able to own that property when they have a salary that can be able to qualify for a mortgage, and they also had the advantage of low interest rates. For those who have high interest rates, I would still ask you to consider a mortgage. And one of the things that you must do, because the interest rates are very high, you may buy a property worth 10 million and you end up paying 18 million if you do it for 25 years. One of the tricks that you can use, because the interest is very high, there's something called capital reduction. And I know banks would not like this because that's how they make money. But you have to take care of your interest. Once you get that mortgage and you have qualified, the interest rates, the repayments are usually very high. What you need to do, I'll go back to some of the money people in employment get. There are those people who get per diems, bonuses, overtimes. You are a member of SACCO, you can be able to get some money there. I'll not talk about bank loans because you can't take a loan at 13% to settle another one for 6%. You need to be very smart. For those who are doing businesses, you get lump sums. There are times, months that are very dry. I've been in business and I know this. There are months when you get so much money. Those are the months you use these lump sums to settle this part of the mortgage. Basically, you are trying to ensure you don't pay so much interest to the bank. So, if you take a house today with a mortgage and you have had high interest rates, I expect you to use any of these monies you keep getting over the years to resettle that loan so that you reduce the interest that you are paying. I've seen a couple that repaid their mortgage in 5 years. They were employed. They used their overtimes. They combined their money together. They used their overtime, their bonuses, all these lump sums, and they were able to settle it in 5 years. What happens there is that you pay lesser of interest. So number one is mortgage. If you have low interest rates, and I have given us an example of a house worth 20 million, a house worth 5 million, you need $500,000 as deposit. You can raise it using those methods I've been able to give. You can get a mortgage with a tenure of 300 months, that is 25 years. The mortgage repayments are less than the rent. If you decide to rent that house, you are basically making some money on top. Some houses, even in that area, are rented for 40,000, so you can make that 10,000 on top. And a word of caution, not all the houses in the market will do this. You have to be smart and use my formula. Look for at least 20 houses, 3 to 6 months. Utatembea in Nairobi. You have to go around and look for these houses. I have seen this situation unfold in my experience, and I have seen friends, colleagues, and many other people who I find they have these opportunities. Either they are not aware, especially those who work in a bank, they are not aware, or they have not been able to take advantage of them. So do you work in a bank or in a company that is giving mortgages, opportunities for mortgage? I've seen companies that negotiate that with their mortgage providers at low interest rates. We also have Kenya Mortgage Refinance. I believe this will help people get mortgages at low interest rates. When it comes and you can be able to qualify, please take advantage of it. Time is moving. You don't even know of this truth 5 years down the line, yet you could have owned a home in a short 3 years. So actually, if you do it via mortgage, you can even do it, you can already be a homeowner in 1 year. So a short 3 months for some developers who are very fast with paperwork, not in 3 years. But in terms of repayments, it depends on how fast you can do capital reduction and pay 100% of that mortgage. And in a short 3 years, there are those. If you go for affordable options, or if you go for an option that is within your income level, I believe in 3 years for most people, they can be able to repay this loan. Do you know what that does? It gives you motivation. Number one, to work very hard in business to improve your revenues and also to improve your incomes. If you're in employment, this is the time to focus so that you get promotions, you get per diems and big bonuses. Basically, it's time to focus, work hard, and get a bigger income. So that instead of talking about a 5 million house, we can now talk about a 10 million house. I know there are those who are advantaged. We can even talk about a 50 million house. Those who earn an upward of 500,000 and 1,000,000 shillings. So the concept is the same. That is about mortgage. And I hope I'll be able to cover more of this in upcoming live sessions so that I can be very clear about different income levels. Number two is about construction. A research that was done previously, it shows most Kenyans would like to construct their own homes for different reasons. It gives you a stage-by-stage process of construction because you don't need all the money at once, unlike other options like buying cash. It also gives you an opportunity to design your kitchen the way you want for ladies. For men, maybe to design the outside design of the house, how you want it to be. So it gives you an option to be able to develop it or build it according to your taste. So, and for most Kenyans, they would like to know how to own land and build in 3 years. And I would like to cover this as fast as possible. This is based on my own research. Number one, you really need to understand how this process works. You need to understand, number one, how much would it cost you? That is budgeting. Number two, you need to understand the construction steps. Understand your budget because you can build a house worth 100 million. Number two, understand the construction phases that you have to go through. And because most of us are on the lower income levels or mid-income levels, you may not have the luxury of a 50 million house. For my discussion, I still work with a 5 million, constructing a 5 million house. This is most likely a bungalow in one of our projects. So you'll go through stages. Number one, you have a budget. We are working with 5 million. Number two, you need to understand the construction phases, which I'll give you right now in a very fast way. Number one, you have the foundation. I know some of you already have gone through this, and congratulations to those who have been able to go through this successfully and now they are home owners. Number two, you have to build the structure, foundation, then the structure. Number three, you have to do the roofing. It's quite expensive for some roofing. Number four, you have to do the interior design, and the last one is maybe landscaping and doing the perimeter fence. There are those who will do it in a different way, but that is my own 5 steps that you can be able to follow. The reason for understanding these phases and these steps is so that you can move step by step in the 3 years. I'll be able to share what you can do in year 1, year 2, and year 3. I'm assuming you have been saving. Of course, you want to own a home. You have been working very hard. And now you are ready to start my 3-year process. What can you do in year 1? In year 1, you need to own a plot. When I was talking about mortgage, you are looking for an apartment or a bunker. I talked about looking for 20 properties. And that's why Username Investment Limited offers free site visits, because we understand there are those who want to see several properties before they invest in one. These days you can do virtual tours. You can check in the website. You can go to Google Maps. There are those customers who come to us when they have been fed with so much information and they have narrowed down to go. So in year 1, if you are constructing, in year 1 you can be able to buy a plot. There are so many ways how you can be able to finance the plot and also the construction. In Username Investment, one of the things we do in 12 months, we give installment plans for people who can be able to do so. Maybe 15,000 per month for one of the plot in Tinga suburbs in a Magadi Road project. And you go up. There are those who can pay 20,000 per month. Dedicate part of your salary to be for this purpose. Remember, we say this is one of the most important steps, one of the most important achievements, one of the most important, something that it is in most people's heart. One of the most important things you can do in your life, owning a home. So if I tell you to put a third of your salary, of 20% of your salary, a big portion of your salary for this part, it makes sense. So you can be able to own a plot through installments. In the previous videos, I've talked about people who are in circles. Do you know some circles are giving from 3 to 10 times your savings? So if I'm talking about this plot worth 349,000 which you sold in Gong, for some circles you will need 30,000 or 40,000 to be able to own this plot. Then they can give you the rest. So in year one, give yourself a target. By the way, do you have a new year resolution for 2021? Maybe the new year resolution in year one, it should be able to own a plot. If you're on a different income level, a higher income level, you're encouraged even to consider not a 5 million house, maybe a 10 million, 15 million, depending on your income level. But today I'm covering a 5 million house. So you can own a plot worth 500,000 shillings through the methods I've given. Remember, you have had per diems, you have had savings, you have had overtimes. If you are running a small organization or a business, you can have lump sum, profit share. Some of you can get dividends. Some of you can draw money from the company if you are running a small business without compromising the mission of the company. There are many of you can dispose of unnecessary assets. I keep repeating these methods because they look simple, but you have to take deliberate action. And you also have to be informed that you can use these methods. So using those methods, you can be able to first own a plot. Tumemaliza year one. Ensure you own a plot where you want to build. There are many considerations for owning a plot because there are those people who would like to build in Mombasa Road, in Thika Road, in Gong Road, and many other places. So you have to understand, where would I like to live? The budget you are working with is 500,000. If you come to username investment, we have plots of that value. Imagine in 2017 we had plots worth 300 where people are already living at the moment. So replaying what has the successes of the past, we can come today as ask ourselves, can you do the same? Yes, you can. We have plots going for 500,000 and 600,000. You have to do everything possible to be able to own a plot in 2021, so that in 2022 and 2023, we can now talk about construction. And remember, I was able to break down for you the stages of construction, because you can save money for one stage. Ukimaliza hiyo, you move to the next. I've seen Kenyans do that successfully, and they are now homeowners. And it might take even a shorter time rather than somebody who took mortgage for 25 years. But a mortgage has a different street smart way of handling it, so that you don't end up paying it 25 years. That's a long time. You can pay it in 5 to 10 years. For me, that is a success story, and become a homeowner at the same time. So what can you do in year two? We are assuming now you own a plot worth 500,000, right? And username is now processing your title, or have given you your title deed. And by the way, if you can buy it cash and you have savings, you have bonuses. Some companies, we are in April. I know a company that give where I used to work in May. You're about to receive a bonus. There are those who already have it. You can buy this plot cash. Then we close. By the way, you can take even less than 3 years. Then we stop talking about 3 years. Umenunua sahi 6 months, you get your title deed because you need it for approvals from username investment. You can save 6 months from this cycle. Then you start construction after 6 months. So in year two, at the beginning, assuming it's January, you can start construction phase one. Different phases take different times. Foundation takes a lot of money. For those who have been in construction, you need a lot of money. Out of these 5 million shillings, and by the way, you can do a house for even 2 million shillings. This is a bungalow. If you take care of your cost properly, you don't need 5 million. You can scale it down to even 2 million shillings, 3 million. I'm working with 5 million so that you can get a proper house that everyone will be proud of in this Nairobi. So you can work with between 2 to 3 million, 2 to 5 million. Now in year two, you can start with the foundation. If you look at the 5 million shillings, and this is from experience, foundation might require even 1 million shillings, at least 1 million shillings. We go back to financing. I'll go back for the third time. how you can be able to finance these constructions. I remember there might be people who took loans for the plot or a circle loan, but I suspect because this is a very important part of your life, owning a home for your family, you would put all the mechanism in place, all the savings, all the money, you direct that money to this project. So we go back to the way of financing. Some bank will give you construction loans, right? 70% of the value of the property. I know such a bank. And some other bank, I know another bank giving 105% for mortgages and construction. So you can be able to get a construction loan. Remember, you still have your salary. I know there are that rule for those who are employed. You cannot draw so much money from the business. So remember, you still can use the bonus. You can use the per diems, profit share, dividends, lump sum you are getting from small businesses. You can take a circle loan. A circle loan is more preferred. I've seen somebody do this in the past. A circle loan to be able to start this process so that you can be able to qualify for $1 million shillings where you can be able to do foundation. I also talked about disposing unnecessary. You might have a vehicle that is unnecessary for you. Disposing it because owning a home has a higher priority than owning a vehicle, unless that vehicle is a business vehicle, right? Remember, you have to make sacrifices for you to be able to move forward. So you can use those methods. Now we are on the foundation stage in year one. I would say from, if you had all the money, some of these construction can take even 6 months or even less, where you pump money, you start foundation, you go to the next step. But if you look at my remaining 2 years, and we have 5 steps, you have to work with you have to work with like a maximum of 6 months for every stage. I'm saying 6 months because some of the stages may not require 6 months. I'm looking at the last stage of landscaping, where you do landscaping for your compound, unapanda maua, unapanda nyasi, you do the cabros and all those things. You see, this is something that you can even do in the future. There are things you can be able to ignore. But you see, when you start with foundation, you have already financed for that. The next thing is structure. From my own research, structure is not extremely expensive. What is more expensive? Structure is not extremely expensive. Roofing is not extremely expensive, depending on the roof that you use. Interior design might be expensive for you because you have to buy the tiles, you have to buy the toiletries, you have to do a gypsum ceiling, quite expensive for labor. Remember, there is also labor in this process. The decorations in the house and stuff like that. This one might be more expensive to you. I'll still go back to my financing options. If you can be able to get a much bigger loan, and remember, for banks and financing institutions, for construction and mortgages, the loans are usually higher because they understand you need more money to be able to be able to go through the construction process. What I'm telling you is not rocket science. What I'm telling you is not a secret. These are things you might already know. You need to be extremely deliberate. One of the things I might have said in the beginning is that you need to be lean in your budgets. For you to be able to direct so much resources, and remember, this is something that people do. For some people, they have the luxury of doing it once in a life to build a family home. You might work for a long time before you get to build a family home. So it makes sense to sacrifice other pressures so that you build this home. I'm not saying you stop like paying school fees, you stop living, no, you stop a bit of entertainment here and there, but you direct. If it's entertainment, you reduce your budget. If it's a budget for vehicles, you can reduce it to a minimum level. There are very many hacks you can do. If you are living, there are those who are living in a very expensive house somewhere in Kileleshwa, and maybe your level income does not allow. This is the time to humble yourself. Go to an estate where instead of paying 100,000 for rent, maybe you can pay 40,000. 60,000 can do a lot. In case you are paying even 50,000, your income level does not allow, you can go to an estate where you pay 25,000. In case you are living in a 3-bedroom, maybe you need 2 for the sake of being able to direct this money to achieve this objective. So you can move from foundation, you go to structure, you go to roofing, you go to interior design, and finally you finish with the landscaping, and we expect you to invite us for house wing. At every stage, I've shared the methods, the many methods, and others you can have at your disposal because we are different, to be able to finance every stage of the process. At the end of the day, when you are done, I've seen people left with loans. If you are left with loans to pay, that is a much better objective, because you can set that as a target and say, in the next 5 to 10 years, I want to have finished paying all the loans to do with this house or all the other loans you have taken through this construction. In 5 to 10 years, for some people, if you are not able to hit my target of 3 years, and you hit maybe 5 to 10 years, you have done well. If you target to go to the sun and you go to the moon instead, how many people go to the moon? You have done well. Somebody said, I would target to become a billionaire. But if I become a millionaire, it's not bad enough. It's still good. How many people get to that position? This guy, you aim too high, but if you don't get to the target position, you are still good enough. So if my 3 years do not work, don't say you are not successful. You can do it even in 5 to 10 years. But in my own view, that's some of the things you can be able to implement so that you can be able to own your house in 3 years. A point of note in the construction process. One of the ways to reduce costs, for those who are employed, this is something that is very challenging because you have to supervise. We live in a country that have people who want to steal from you right, left, and center. Mafundi and many other things. Of course, there are many fundis who are good, who don't do this, but there are few who might make your expensive pile. You need to be available in this mjengo. I've seen people visit. If you are doing a mjengo, you have to be there several times a week, or you get somebody who is very reliable as a project manager or a supervisor, somebody you can rely on. Because one of the things I've noticed, apart from labor, the materials cost can either become so high. So you need a system that manages the cost of materials and also labor, because in some cases, labor, out of the 5 million I was talking about, labor will eat like 1 million shillings. So you have to be deliberate, you have to be involved in the construction process from end to end for you to be able to manage these costs. I've seen people go, like if you're in Nairobi, most of the stones are, you get the stone from Juja, right? And some other places. Why not take yourself there? It will take you on Saturday. You go and negotiate all these prices. If you are buying cement, I know cement is like 600 shillings, doesn't fluctuate, but you can go because you'll be ordering a lot. Go and negotiate. Even if you have to save 20 shillings per bag, that's a lot. Negotiate, negotiate, negotiate. Most people are willing to listen. If you are buying a chuma, you can negotiate everything. Maybe you can save 500,000 out of the cost. If you don't negotiate, you lose some money in the process. So you can negotiate, be involved in the process. It will bring down the cost significantly, and also have a plan of action from the beginning. Something I forgot to mention about mortgages. You can also have a plan for year 1, year 2, year 3. For year 1, I'm assuming some people don't have the deposit I was talking about. You can raise the deposit in year 1. For year 2, now you have the deposit and the legal fees. For year 2, now you apply for the mortgage. I'm assuming you are employed or you have business income that can be considered for a mortgage. You apply, and I hope you qualify, and then you move into the house. And remember, for mortgages, we are talking about a house that is completed after looking for these 20 houses. Then in year 2, you have already applied and you have gotten in. From there, you do capital reduction like no one's business, like your life depends on it. So that in a very short time, for some people they can do it in 3 years, you finish paying 100% of the mortgage and you're 100% owner. And do you know, they are people, based on that trick, they have been using mortgage, they buy a house, the house is paying itself because it is giving rent. Then once they finish paying, they are already getting rent there. They take another house using the same formula. I've seen people, very smart people in banks, who after working for 20 years, somebody is coming up with an investment of 3 houses. It's not a joke. Where they can even get an amount equivalent to their income per month. They can actually resign if they wanted to, or pursue other matters, because the income from those houses they have invested in. I'm talking about banks because of low interest rates for staff members. They can actually move on with a new salary. But today we are talking about a home. Very simple. For construction, I hope you have been able to get some of the tips you can use. Some of you are very smart in the sector. You have other ideas. Please use them. Use smart ways to implement this. Give yourself time. I'll tell you one of the quote about Elon Musk, one of the most innovative human beings in this planet at the moment. The guy who does rocket, who built rockets and stuff like that. Actually, people use rockets as a way of showing how difficult something might be. So you say it's not rocket science, but this guy now is a rocket scientist. He's also behind Tesla, the cars, something that most people thought cannot be done. One of the things he said, if you decide something is going to take 30 days, it will take 30 days. But if you decide the same thing is going to take 3 days, it will take 3 days. Because what happens in our unconscious thinking and our unconscious mind, we program ourselves to know this thing has a deadline of 3 days. What does the mind do? You look for innovative ways. The mind, I think, releases hormones and energies and creative ideas for you to be able to complete the task in 3 days. You'll do all manner of things. You realize I have to work for more hours. I have to engage people who know. I have to be smart. For something that was taking a day, it takes 2 hours. That is what happens. So if you think you can build a house in 10 years, it will take you 10 years. But if you think you can do it in 3 years, it can still take 3 years. The mind will force you to look for innovative ways to reach that goal. And that's what I was trying to do today. Number 1, to recap, give yourself a plan of action. Today we are talking about 3 years. What are you going to do in year 1, year 2, year 3? They may deviate from my own tips. Number 2, ask yourself, what budget am I working with? What is within my income level? But you also have to set a much higher goal than your income level so that you push yourself to the limit. Direct all the income there. Look for innovative ways. Other ways I have not mentioned on how to finance, because that was the most difficult things for most of our people today. And to tell you for a fact, if you work like this, you might even come here with a testimony after some few years on much better ways to be able to hack what I have just tried to break down for you. How to own your own home in a short 3 years. I hope this video has been beneficial to you. We would like you to subscribe to our channel. If you are in YouTube, if you are in Facebook, please like our page. If you are on Instagram, please follow us. Please leave your comment there, your view. You might have a better idea than we do. Leave your comment. We'd like to engage you further. I'm hoping this 40-50 minutes of our discussion was helpful to you. Make a decision today. Do a plan for your action. Look at your budget. Look for ideas. My friend, you can also be able to do it in 3 years. Thank you so much. God bless you. Have a good afternoon. This is Reuben Kimani, and this is Real Estate in Kenya. God bless you. Keep safe. Take care of yourself.